Good day. This is lesson 6 for the course The Teacher and the School Curriculum, which focuses on the cyclical curriculum development models. Before we proceed with the different models, let us review first what are the important concepts that we need to know about cyclical curriculum development models. Question here is once we are done with linear curriculum development models in our previous lesson, next is cyclical curriculum development models. Now, what do you think is the reason why they are cyclical? The answer is, of course, it is cyclical because it is continuous. If we look at the image on the right, we see that the process is continuous. It may have a beginning, but it has no end because its last step becomes the basis of the first step. Another question that we addressed last time is one important aspect of cyclical curriculum development models is situational analysis. Now, what is situational analysis? The answer is situational analysis is the process of examining factors that exist in the environment or society where the curriculum is going to be implemented. And we have mentioned that the different things that we analyze around the situation are the learners, the society, the demands, even economics and environmental conditions. We also have to consider our different curriculum sources and curriculum influences like media, alumni organization, and even church. So for cyclical models, they describe a cyclical or continuous process of curriculum development. And cyclical models usually start with situational analysis that will serve as a basis for all the succeeding processes. Meaning, situational analysis may be exactly done at the beginning, but in reality, situational analysis can actually be done at any stage of the cyclical models. But it is very important that for cyclical models, we need to conduct situational analysis before we proceed to the other steps. This is similar to what Hilda Taba have included as an additional input in the curriculum development process. So the first cyclical curriculum development model that we have is the Nicholls curriculum development model. And who are the developers of this model? The developers are Audrey Nicholls and Howard Nicholls in 1978. According to them, they believed that curriculum development is a continuous process. They prescribe 5 logical and interdependent stages that are in a continuous curriculum development process. And again, these 5 logical and interdependent stages will start with situational analysis, in which curricular decisions are made, followed by the selection of objectives and the other succeeding phases. So what are the steps and where does it start? Again, it starts with situational analysis, and then we have selection of objectives. We have selection and organization of content. We have selection and organization of methods, and we have evaluation. If we try to look at it, the steps are similar with the steps of Ralph Tyler and Hilda Taba. Only that it is not in a linear arrangement, but in a circular or cyclical arrangement. The model is highly prescriptive and dynamic. It's dynamic because changes can happen at any point or at any step of the model. Now, what benefits can this model get from situational analysis? So the inclusion of situational analysis as a part of the model is a valuable principle in curriculum development. It enables the curriculum workers to understand better the context in which the curriculum is developed. By starting with situational analysis, curriculum workers will be able to collect data and the needed information from various curriculum sources and influences that are prerequisites in formulating curriculum goals and objectives. Now, if we applied situational analysis in college settings, faculty members need to do this before planning their syllabi or curriculum plans. Or in basic education, in elementary and secondary, junior high school or science high school, if we are going to conduct situational analysis, it may be considered as a long and tedious task. However, it is very beneficial to the curriculum because situational analysis will make it possible for the curriculum to be more relevant and responsive to the needs of the students and the school. The next question is, what are the things that this model recognizes? The model also recognizes the influences, and importance of contributing disciplines such as philosophy, psychology, and sociology. If we look at these three, philosophy, psychology, and sociology, these are similar to philosophical foundations, psychological foundations, and sociological foundations of curriculum development. And the importance of these three disciplines in developing the curriculum is also recognized in the model of Ralph Tyler. Now, the model has the potential to be used in any educational setting. So, what are the other benefits that we can get from using this model? The cyclical nature of the model enables curriculum workers in making necessary changes and adjustments in the total curriculum. This attribute will be helpful for teachers, administrators, and educational boards to address curricular issues and propose innovations and changes. Again, this is because the model advocates a curriculum development activity that involves continuous improvement. So meaning, in the 5 steps of Nicholls and Nicholls model, we can actually make necessary changes and adjustments based on the actual situation that we have analyzed. For example, we have done already situational analysis at the beginning, but when we are in the process of selecting our objectives, there are instances or there are things that may happen which may influence how we select our objectives. So I think that's it for Nicholls and Nicholls model, the benefits that we can get from it. But we need to take a look also at the weakness of this model. So what weakness does this model has for the Philippine setting? There is little weakness found in this model. The possible problem that may occur is that many curriculum workers are used to develop curricula following a linear model, like in the Philippines. In the Philippines, curriculum development follows a top-down approach, where many curricular decisions are made in the national level. The goals and contents of the curriculum are set by the state. In the context of higher education, there is a tendency that they will not follow this model because of the tedious job of conducting situational analysis before developing any syllabus or curriculum plan. Those are the things that you need to know about the Nicholls and Nicholls model. The next cyclical curriculum development model that will be included in this lesson is the contextual filters model of course planning. If we look at the title of this curriculum development model, course planning, we already have an idea that this curriculum development model is mostly applied in higher education or in college levels. So who are the developers? The developers are the following. We have Stark, Lothar, Bentley, Ryan, Martens, Genton, Wren, and Shaw in 1990. This was part of their study conducted at the University of Michigan National Center for Research to Improve Post-Secondary Teaching and Learning. Again, this model focuses on the context of higher education or in college level. Now, there are terms that we need to understand first about the contextual filters model. So first is we have content influences. Content influences encompass faculty members' background, such as educational attainment, their professional trainings, their developments as professionals, and all the things associated with disciplinary and educational beliefs, like what is their philosophy about teaching, what is their philosophy about learning. Those are included under educational beliefs. So for content influences, these are within faculty members. We also have what we call as contextual influences. Now, these are influences outside the instructors or outside the faculty members' immediate control that cause adjustments such as student characteristics or instruction. And of course, other ideas or other things about the context where the curriculum is being developed, like economic context, environmental context. Those are outside the faculty members' control, but those things still influence how the curriculum will be developed. And of course, we have the word form, and this now includes the processes that are followed when designing courses. Each of the universities or every university has its own form of curriculum development. And the form may be influenced by the content influences or contextual influences. So the contextual filters model presents a cyclical view of curriculum development process. If we look at this model, it may seem like chaotic, but let's try to understand every part of our model here. So you can see that the contextual filters model start with situation analysis. Now, where is situational analysis here? We can see situational analysis under the influence of faculty backgrounds and characteristics, meaning we need to know who are the teachers or who are the faculty members, what are their backgrounds, and what are their characteristics. If we go to the second box, the faculty background and the characteristics will influence how they view their academic fields. Okay? For example, a graduate of a private university will have a different view about academic compared to a person who graduated from a public university. So our backgrounds will really affect or influence our views of our academic fields. At the same time, these views of academic fields will influence the purposes of education espoused by faculty members. And at the same time, the influence of faculty background and characteristics also affect the purposes of education espoused by faculty members. So how we see education in general will be affected by our faculty backgrounds and characteristics, and of course, our views of our own academic fields. However, at the same time, the purposes of education can also influence our views of our academic fields. So it works both ways. Now, in terms of knowing or understanding the purposes of education, there has to be some form of feedback adjustment, meaning it will be a cycle of reviewing our purposes of education, and then we will receive feedback from it, and then we will review again, and then we will have another feedback. That's why it becomes cyclical. Now, our purposes of education espoused by faculty members will be considered, okay, in our development of goals. Okay? on the experiences that the students will need, the schedules of our subjects, even campus services and resources. So those will be considered as the contextual filters. Now, after knowing our goals, understanding our students, schedules, campus services available, and the resources available, it is now ready for us to develop the form of the curriculum by starting with course descriptions, in which we try to select content, arrange content, and choose processes. So the model is based on a research conducted by the different authors presented a while back. And they conducted this study among several higher education institutions in the United States. There are several curriculum influences, such as faculty background and educational beliefs, that are recognized in this model. So in that model, it recognizes faculty background and educational beliefs. So the influence and the special role of faculty members in curriculum planning and development are recognized as a main factor in curriculum development in higher education. I hope that you were able to understand this model here. It's quite complicated because of the many arrows, but you see the arrows as to how one influences the others. Again, we start with how faculty backgrounds and characteristics can influence our views of our own academic fields. An example I presented this a while back is that graduates of public and private universities will have a different view about their subject or about the discipline that they are teaching. Of course, coming from two different universities, they have different sets of experiences, and definitely those will influence how they view their discipline. But the main point here, my dear students, is this about contextual filters. Okay? There are filters in the model. And where do we find these filters? It's on faculty background and educational beliefs. The content influences and contextual influences are the filters in this model. They provide us a guidance or a basis on what should be included in the curriculum that we are trying to develop. Now, what is the weakness of this model? There is one very important weakness that we need to take into consideration if we will follow this model for curriculum development. However, again, to reiterate, this model is very useful for higher education or college level, not so much for elementary and high school levels. But there are things here that are real or that are still um, observed in elementary and high school level, like the influence of the teachers on the academic views or on the purposes of education. So going back, what is the weakness of this model? There is only one important weakness that we need to look into about this model. It is very teacher-centered because since this is for higher education or college level, we know that in college we have what we call as the academic freedom. So academic freedom of faculty members are highly practiced in higher education. Given the influence of academic freedom, faculty members may plan the curriculum based on their own convenience. Now, the model can be improved by putting students as part of the content influences. Because in many other curriculum models, students are viewed as a significant source of curriculum. And considering the fact that most college teachers do not have pedagogical training, the model failed to elaborate how contents and process are arranged. And the students could be a great basis for that problem. This could have been very useful for faculty members, especially for neophyte instructors or new instructors who do not have background knowledge on education. So those are the things that you need to remember about the contextual filters model. And these are the references with the main reference from the book of Greg Tabios Pawilen, The Teacher and the School Curriculum. That's all for this lesson, and I hope you learned things about the two cyclical models or cyclical curriculum development models. We have Nicholls, and we have the contextual filters model of course planning. That's all, and this is the end of our lesson 6.